Hello guys, what's up?
Morning.
We're just leaving the Cayman Island Brewery. Got a little 6-pack, did some tasters, some beers, and we were going on an adventure to Pedro St. James Castle with my lovely wife.
Hola.
Beautiful Saturday. Sunny, beautiful day here in the Cayman Islands. Previous days it was kind of rainy, but at least today it's beautiful weather. So we're gonna go and check out a site we've never been to. So let's do it. Got some K-brew too, or white tip. CC. Got some white tip. Got some white tip. My favorite beer here. Let's go. So we are here at Pedro St. James Castle. My beautiful wifey.
Hi.
Hola.
So beautiful. It looks nice here.
Yeah. On the waterfront in Savannah.
A lot of people.
The Iron Shore.
Here.
Yeah, I can imagine. So let's go and see what we can do. Maybe a tour. Check things out. Maybe get a bite to eat. Yeah. Muy Tango Hombre. So we're here, St. Pedro James Castle. My beautiful wife.
Police.
Que calor.
So nice in here, man.
It is. Very beautiful. I love PSJ. What kind of tree is this, I wonder? A lot of folks get married here. I can see why. Sure, yeah.
It'll help you to get a better grasp of everything you're about to see. Pedro is a location. The word Pedro has got nothing to do with anybody's name. It describes a strip of land that stretches from west to east along the bluff on the south coast of Grand Cayman. This 3.5-mile strip, it has always been called Pedro on our very oldest maps from the 1680s. Right here, it goes almost all the way to Borden Town, this strip of Pedro. Right here is Pedro Point. William Eden, when he built the house at Pedro Point in 1780, he called it St. James House. And the Eden name of the oldest family names here. Isaac Borden was the first settler here, and then Stephen Watler, some 45 years after Isaac. So Borden and Watler are the two oldest family names here. The house is actually built from the rocks out here on the bluff, and when we exit the theatre, we're going to exit on the west side. We turn to the left, walk along a little pathway along an expanse of the bluff. So as we walk along that path here, look at the rocks out here, and when you get across the north side of the big lawn is the house. And look at the walls of the house. We'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Huge 6-stone walls held together by cement made from those same rocks, 242 years. The cement made from those same rocks. So you'll see exactly what I'm talking about as you look at the walls of it. Also, it's a brilliant day. You get a great view of the deepest part of the Caribbean Sea. It's very, very deep.
Oh wow, yeah.
We're surrounded by a very deep ocean. Around us, floors, louvers, roofs, rails, stairs, doors, and windows, everything in wood gone.
Do you know what caused it?
That you will see a reenactment of that fire towards the end of the little movie. It was in 1877. This is a view of it. For example, in 1925, minus its woodwork, a southwest view of it. And that's a southwest view now, as you see, with all the woodwork back around it, on top of it, and inside it, in meticulous detail. As I said out there, the government now owns this portion of the Eden plantation. We work for the government, 7.5 acres. No one lives in any building on the property. The house was abandoned, living in by the family, but they continued to use the site for what you see here, family gatherings. This photograph was actually taken at the funeral of one of William Eden's great-grandsons in 1925. And you'll see a photograph of this great-grandson hanging on the west wall as we go up the stone staircase and enter that veranda for the second floor, a 1905 photograph of him. And we'll see a photograph of his daughter Caroline, one of William Eden's great-granddaughters at her father's funeral in 1925 with her little brother Arundel. She's almost 15 in that photograph. We'll see another photograph of Caroline on the third floor. Down the huge triangular stone supports that supported the main gable roof before the fire. We had to build them back. He replaced it with large cement blocks around the belting, and it gave the building the triangulated, turreted look of a castle. It's from then in full force, everyone started calling it the castle of Pedro Castle, and the name has stuck with it forever. Tom's idea was to try to bring people out here, tourists out here to Pedro, this part of Grand Cayman, where he bought the place and did the castle effect with it. He also built this L-shaped room on top of the old jail, built that out of 6-inch block walls, because you won't see that room here. This is a 1964 photograph of the house. This room we'll see thick walls. It was converted into a jail. We'll see when we get over here in 1820, and you'll see it here about the jail in the little movie. These are all stills from the movie. This photograph is the best photograph of the house as a castle. There are hundreds of photographs of it as a castle. This is the best one. That's the road you all just came. Here's a 1964 photograph that you just came through, going around the parking lot and coming in. That's the road you just came into the place on out there. A 1964 photograph. The wall was way down to this height. I remember very well. You could just step over it. We brought the wall back up with all the rocks as it was, and it was first built. That wall was built by Swedes. We plastered walls, they back the supports for the main gable roof, and put all the woodwork back in meticulous, precise detail. I'm sure you'll be impressed with the detail of the woodwork when you get over there. The sauna operated that down and work. Let me let you in here, folks. We'll go inside. I'll open the doors for you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Take any photographs you wish to take.
Okay.
And here also, come right in, have a seat. Second or third row gives you about the best resolution.
Sure.
Whether you sit there, here, or here.
Okay.
It's like sitting too close to a television screen. The further back you sit, better resolution you get.
Thank you,
We're going
sir.
to exit under that archway and we'll turn to the left
Okay.
as we exit. And the dear is you and we'll go.
Okay.
Over to the house.
Okay.
Good to see young people coming here, lots of young people coming now. Want to welcome you both.
Thank you.
Mr. James, thank you for coming here. We're going to step back in time over 200 years and see the old St. James House and its impact on our lives these many years in Cayman. Because the house is here, our very first elections were held. The dining room of the second floor and our boundary in the house before and after the elections for several years. William Eaton came here from a place called the Vices, which is in Wiltshire. The Vices, Wiltshire, is about 8 miles or so west-northwest of London. He came here in about 1755. He built the house 1780. So it's the oldest building still standing in Cayman. They started to hold court in the dining room from before 1820. The magistrates ruling court were the first government in Cayman. Those magistrates were appointed for life. There was an animal pound and there was a jail. After the first elections in the dining room, December 1831, the government from then on would become a two-part bicameral, two-chamber Westminster parliamentary system, where a British Crown territory. 10 men elected by the people every 2 years. The elected men would meet in the dining room whenever the government met. The magistrates would meet in the room above on the 3rd floor. Always on the same day, the two parts of government would meet whenever the government met, but in the two separate rooms. 1831 and about 1841 in the St. James House here. After that, they meet between Bordentown and Georgetown. The meeting would take place March 1841. But it was a very unique government. From 1831, it was
young woman, daughter of the house, collecting rainwater in a storm, struck by lightning at the foot of the stairs to my father's house, Pedro, St. James.
Here in Cayman, we measure our lives by storms, wind, rain, lightning, and the wild sea. Hear me now. Now I'm going to tell you the story about Pedro St. James and Cayman. This story has been handed down from the old people, and I'm going to tell you about the story of the lightning and the girl with the water bucket, but that will come later. Before there can be the story of Pedro St. James, you gotta know about how the people come to Cayman. Now some of them come free and some of them come slave. But the first thing, there was nobody but animals living on Cayman.
The 22nd of April, 1586, we fell with an isle that had no people in it. There we found strange kinds of beasts and killed more than 20 alligators.
And first thing, it seemed like nobody even wanted Cayman, not even after the British take our neighbor, Jamaica, from the Spanish.
The Caymans consist of 3 islands to the south of Cuba. Seizing these islands offers so few advantages that it seems pointless to become involved in building forts and spending funds there.
But Cayman was a beautiful place, covered with mahogany trees and thatch trees and all like that. And some soldiers that was with old Oliver Cromwell's army in Jamaica, Bardens and Watlers, they like Cayman and they come here to live. And even some pirates like Rivero Pardal come round and talk about fighting all the British.
I went ashore at Caymanos and burned 20 houses in Fort Captain Airy.
It's forever the Cayman.
fishing turtles, it brings us another gift. Ships. They wreck on our reefs. That was good for us because we could salvage all kinds of things from them, even wood for our houses. That's the law of the sea. Reverend Waddell got a little story to tell about that.
A fleet of canoes was making for us, and soon surrounded our helpless craft. The headman, advancing to the captain with one word of pity and two of business, agreed to take everything ashore on the usual terms of half for the work. Down came the sails and ropes, and up came everything from the hold. The cabin doors, fittings and furnishings were by fair or foul means torn off and sent away.
Time now for me to tell you about Pedro Castle and all of them things. A man named William Eden, he came from Wiltshire, England, and he married Dorothy Borden, a Cayman woman, and they live on Cayman just near her by spots. Now his wife gave William Eden 3 children, but the poor woman died giving birth to the 4th. So William Eden, he married Bessa Clark, and she gave him 6 more children. But she had a reputation of being a miserable woman. Some say she made him so miserable, he left and went away to cut mahogany wood in Nicaragua. Now when he died there at Pearl Lagoon, William Eden left behind a widow, a big family, and Pedro St. James. And Pedro St. James was the biggest house in Cayman. Maybe he
By appointing
remembers.
a new jail and the authority for raising up. St. James, I
deal with debtors. As a merchant, I require a sound legal...
At a meeting held at St. James on the 5th of December 1831, it was decided that representatives should be elected for the different districts throughout the island for the purpose of framing local laws for the island's better government.
Now England didn't think so much of this. They're saying, what are those Caymanians talking about now? But there was no going back. At Pedro St. James, the people of Cayman said loud that democracy would rule their islands. Soon after, Pedro St. James would witness another great event in the island's history. It unlocked a chain from the heart of more than half the people of Cayman. From the steps of the big house, Captain Anthony Park from the 84th Regiment of Foot read a proclamation. It was the year of our Lord, 1835.
The Slavery Abolition Act, having declared that all persons of the age of 6 or upwards who have been registered as slaves should become and be apprentice labourers, and such registration not having been adopted as respects the islands of the Caymanas, such unregistered slaves...
Poor Jerry, right there by the steps of her father's house, and Pedro St. James was burning from the lightning. It was a terrible thing. And now the families moved out because they thought the big house brought bad luck. They salvaged the timber from the old house to build 2 small wooden houses nearby, and the old house stood empty. But you can't take away the spirit of a place like Pedro St. James so easily. Families been born here for generations, and the memory has carried on. Miss Elvira still remembered a house full of people.
All the daddy, sisters and brothers. Aunt Lucy, and Uncle Mark, and Uncle Harold, and Aunt
Hyden rebuilt the house to look more, well, like a castle, and people started calling it Pedro Castle. He unfortunately died before his dream was complete. Others came along after and opened restaurants and a bar, and a lot of people had good times here. But it got to be time for Pedro Castle to belong to all of the people of Cayman. I think the story of Pedro St. James is like the story of Cayman. We're discovering our history and making it come back to life. And Pedro St. James's story is strong in my heart. Now, my child, everything I've been telling you is true. And it all happened right here at Pedro St. James. Now, Pedro St. James is alive again, just like when old William Eden the Older built it. As alive as when it was the birthplace of democracy in Cayman. As alive as when the proclamation freeing the slaves was read from its steps.
Good kitty. So therefore, all the woodwork was destroyed. This is monument is dedicated to Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth. We are a British Crown territory. We are Her Majesty's citizens. We are Her Majesty's citizens. That's what we are. That was dedicated to her 60th anniversary, 70 years now, since Her Majesty has been on the throne. So she has far exceeded her great-great-grandmother's record in Victoria.
Yeah.
We do a lot of weddings here now. They're doing a big wedding in a short while, you know, and
it's a beautiful spot to get married.
parties and so forth. It helps to keep the place from being dependent on government subsidies. This is government. The house is made from the rocks out there on the bluff. Those rocks run right through the island. The very cement that has held the thick walls together 242 years, that cement is made from those rocks. That war between England and France, it went right into the Napoleonic era. It didn't end until Napoleon was placed in exile on the island of Elba in 1815, though he did not die on Elba. Yep, as I said, we're going to have to air condition the place.
I told you that long time too.
In December, it's coming.
Fun in the sun.
Wait until December that song went. Yep. Anyhow,
It's been at least stronger today than it was last time out here.
yes.
Yeah.
The Edens were paid for the use of their house. It was their residence. They were paid daily for the jail and annually for an Eden on each part of the first two-part government. As you saw, the old man had first two-part bicameral government. December the 10th, 1831, a very important plaque. He would have been about 64, 65 years old at least at that time. He was the controlling person of the whole thing. Yeah, they'll go into the, you know, it's a very hard, dense, heavy wood.
Wow.
The woodwork been put back in meticulous detail. Mahogany.
Mahogany. Yeah.
Very dense, Very heavy, very hard. It never cracks or splits. It's 26 years old.
Wow.
You'll see more mahogany woodwork upstairs, but 26 years old. Also the furniture. That room, but they're antique pieces. The building is filled with that, as you'll see second and third floor. That room was converted into a jail in 1820. The Edens were paid, as I said, daily for that, 2 shillings and 11 pence a day.
Wow.
It had 2 steps down into it. When you stood up in there, those gun ports are the height of your hip or your waist. We brought the floor up to this same height in the 1990s when the government acquired the site from Tom's widow and the family for ease of maintenance. The same thing with the Caymanians born in Isle of Pines, Cuba, the big island there, off Cuba to the southwest. They were forbidden to speak Spanish at home. You had to speak English.
Okay.
So that's why most of them, they could not speak Spanish. Oh yeah, many of my cousins talk about that all the while from over there.
Yeah, they're very similar accents from Rotan.
My father speaks Rotan, Monaco. Roof, we used to roof houses with it, the full green leaf of it. This is a work of art, as you'll see.
Yeah.
It's lashed to the last across the rafters, across the stem of the leaf by a piece of thatch. See when you look up at it. When you look up at it.
Oh wow. It's beautiful.
Oh yeah, Honduras has great pine. It's a big country, and we make the smaller vessels, we plant with that Honduras pine.
This is so without palm.
This is how the leaf is done. They lash the last here, as the green leaf is put on up there. And this is used, the tops, on open leaf for the rope, the baskets and hats. So you never cut the tree down. This roof is 6 years old this year.
60.
6 years old.
Oh, 6 years. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it can last a long time, barring there's no hurricane.
Yeah, yeah.
Barring there's no hurricane. But you've got to cut it from the tree on the right moon. Like a full moon. Like the 10th was a full moon a couple of days ago.
Okay, okay.
So this is the right time to cut it. It'll last much longer. Last much longer.
Oh, wow.
And the day, like when a storm comes?
I survived. I showed you in the lobby the photograph of her brother's funeral. His photograph is here. 1925. It's a 1905 photograph of him.
Wow, and these are the original steps, huh?
Yeah, all the stonework remains. That's why I show you those photographs in the lobby, so you see exactly how the building is to this day. It's just that we put the woodwork back. This is the brother photograph. He's 50 years old, 1905. He was in actual fact Mary Jane's older brother. I know the little movie says younger brother, but he was not. He was her older brother. He was 22 years old. His daughter Caroline was born when he was 55. Her mother was much younger than he was. And he had younger sisters who were apprenticeship by the British government to make it more acceptable and palatable to the British, to the slaves and slave owners. The slave owners are all paid by the British government when slavery was abolished. Every slave owner was paid by the British government
To free them.
To replace them. They were paid to repay them because they are paid for them.
They're gonna lose revenue.
Very callous, harsh and cruel and indifferent to talk of ancestors like that, but I think
it's beautiful. I love these chairs too.
These are rosewood. This isn't really.
Oh wow.
This room, we go around there. This room has the least woodwork, but the furniture are all very, very old, way over 200 years old. Let me go around and see. This room was a bedroom also. My mother's photograph. I said, in this photograph, my dear mother, she wasn't.
That's your mother.
She wasn't quite 88 years old yet. She was almost 88. It was taken sometime in 98. On December 98 was the opening ceremony. My mother gave them a lot of information on the place. She spent months out here with them in 98. And that, and before that, from 93, 92. The parents of both Edens, they were cousins. Eden's family cemetery over there. Tom is buried over there, Tom Hubble.
Oh, the American pilot.
Yeah, the World War II pilot. Houses from the 1750s.
Wow.
It's two chests, one on top of the other, for traveling, called a campaign chest, for the officers in time of warfare. It's in mahogany, all mahogany. This is a reproduction, 25 years old. The rest, very old mahogany. This is a commode. It's a toilet in the night, so your chamber pot here. In the daytime, a respectable chair with the lid down. They'd put a cushion here for you to sit down on. Back to a toilet in the night time.
Okay.
They're also used for birthing chairs. Women would have their babies on them.
Oh, wow.
Oh yes, to this very day, in the most modern hospitals throughout the world, you'd find women, many women elect to have their babies.
So guys, the tour has concluded. Amazing experience. Like it?
Yeah, it was really nice.
Really
More
informative.
than I expected.
Yeah. Beautiful. Pedro St. James. Lovely tour guide, Mr. Stacy Eden. Very knowledgeable. Incredible. Very beautiful site. So definitely come if you're here next. Very historical site here in Grand Cayman.
Time to say goodbye.
So we're leaving Pedro St. James Castle. Lovely place here in Grand Cayman, Savannah. We had a great time. Great tour guide from Mr. What was his name? What's his name? I forget his name. Mr. Eden. I forget his first name. Damn it! But very nice guy. Very knowledgeable. Beautiful view here in the ocean front on the Iron Shore. But definitely visit Pedro St. James, which is in that direction. You're gonna have a really good time. Hopefully get the same tour guide we got. He's very knowledgeable.
Actually, he's the grandson of Cynthia. What was her name?
I forgot. He's a relative of people who built it. So.
Yeah, who lived here. And he knows
very
a
nice.
lot.
Very much so. All right, guys.
We're gonna see my friend now.
Yeah, take care. All the best.
Bye.
Bye.